Before we get started with today's show, I just want to remind you that you can save 10% on your order with Symphony of Balloons, a luxury balloon company that also offers a 360 camera. Just simply mention you heard about them on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Ladies and gentlemen, are you in the gym every week? Are you looking to kind of keep yourself cool while you work up a nasty sweat? Well, I got the best thing for you. Cooling bands, bandanas, cooling towels, and so much more. Go to Vertical Athletics, get your favorite team in MLS or MLB, or guess what? Now they have a custom option so you can upload your own logo and you can save 10% at checkout when you enter the code Brian H. Waters. Go to verticalathletics.com, use the code Brian H. Waters to save 10% on some of your best cooling gear. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. Thank you. Share the show with a friend. There's some opportunities, make some discounts here. We know baseball season is approaching us, so Vertical Athletics, shout out to them. You can get some MLB headbands or some MLS headbands as well. I want to get into today's show. One of the things I want to talk about is all the discord around LeBron James, Bronny James Jr., the tweet that was deleted. LeBron James tweeted about the NBA mock draft. And, here's the thing. Mock drafts have been a thing for years. LeBron James even tweeted, it doesn't matter about them. Talks about, especially after Bronny's, his ranking, he was projected to go to the second round, projected to be in the draft in the second round. Now, everybody talks about LeBron James and having the highest expectations, right? You look at, he just surpassed 40,000 points. He's already the record holder, but 40,000 points seemed insane. And he's now, 40,000 points of his career. You look at anybody, you could almost say there probably will never be another LeBron James, somebody who's been this good for this long. From the moment he first joined the NBA till now, he's been putting up numbers. Well, he made it known that he wanted to play with his son years ago. Wanted to play with his son, right? And this is a time when I believe Bronny was in 8th grade. We all know we followed pretty much his journey to, like, okay, which school is Bronny gonna go to? Are they gonna go to a school in California? Then, obviously, him going to the USC. Unfortunately, Bronny James, he had some cardiac issues, so that kind of delayed some things. But before, there was this thing, okay, would he be the number one draft pick? Would he be, and then LeBron James even talked about Bronny James being better than some of the NBA players right now. So you look at all of that, and now he's talking about the mock draft and how people should let a kid be a kid. So can't y'all just let the kid be a kid and enjoy college basketball? The work and results will ultimately do the talking no matter what he decides to do. If y'all don't know, he doesn't care about what a mock draft says. He just works hard, earn, not given. And they say, and all other kids out there striving to be great, just keep your head down, blinders, and keep grinding. These mock drafts don't matter one bit. I promise you, only the work matters. Let's talk real basketball people. Right now, and this was back in January, like I said, following the loss to the Memphis Grizzlies. He said Bronny could play for us right now easily. Talk about the Lakers. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers have been, that's my favorite team. Unfortunately, it's not nothing to be proud of. They're in the 10th seed, which means they'll be in a playing game. They sit at 33-29. Now, Memphis Grizzlies, we all know, 20-41. They was without Ja Morant for most of the season. But now the Lakers are 9.5 games out of first place if they was to, have a shot at first place. But I look at this and I'm saying, we talking about mock drafts. This has been a thing way before LeBron James was playing basketball. We all know that everybody knows the mock drafts don't matter when it comes to it's a guide to see where a player is going to be drafted. So many things that go into fit, where they're going to play at. And I just don't think this is something that LeBron James Sr. or should be it in up in arms about. I get it. Things are way different when it's your child you're talking about. But there was a lot of people who said it best. LeBron James added the target by saying he wanted to play with his son, by saying that Bronny could play better, than a lot of these players in the league, and saying he could play for the Lakers. So that's leading us to believe that LeBron James Jr. is a walk-in number one draft pick. And I'm sorry, he's an adult. Ain't no kid be a kid. I'm sorry. He's 19 years old. He could be in the military. He would be charged as a man. He just can't buy alcohol. He can't rent a car, but he is an adult. He's October 4th, 2004. So I get it. Yeah, they are college kids because that's what we call them, but society dictates that he's an adult. So when you see that, and LeBron James said, I think shout out to my homie Tim Parker. He asked LeBron James about what would he say to 18-year-old LeBron. And one of the things he said is 18-year-old LeBron James had no business having some of the pressures that he had on him. And we got to give LeBron James Sr. credit because to have those high expectations on him. You had 21, 24-year-olds who were responsible for a franchise and couldn't handle it. LeBron James not only had the franchise, we had a whole city, the city of Cleveland, calling him a savior. All of this stuff, the chosen one. And he exceeded expectations. You know what I mean? He left, he came back, brought them a championship. And when you look at like Michael Jordan's children, right? They played some college basketball, but best believe it seemed like I remember there being highlights when when Jordan would be in attendance and players would dunk on him. Hell, LeBron James trying to get the validation by Michael Jordan when they was playing the Heat, when he was with the Heat going against the Bobcats, would go down and slam dunk on one of the players and stare at Michael Jordan. So do we not think Bronny James is not going to be subject to this as well? So it's very. I found it very interesting that LeBron James would be up in arms, and we saw the tweet was deleted. But it's kind of like one of those things. What did you expect? What did you expect? You tweet about a player. I mean, people they're going to talk about your son. They're going to. He's a basketball player the same way they're going to talk about the other college basketball players. The mock draft is not anything new. It's really something we look forward to, for all the people out there who cover the game of basketball, who love the game of basketball. They look forward to these mock drafts, and people like to create their own mock drafts just to say, okay, I'm right. It's the same way we make predictions for who's going to win the championships. It's the same way we make predictions for the mock drafts. It's nothing new. It's nothing to be up in arms about. It's nothing to be taken serious. And if this is something we're seeing, imagine what it's going to be like when Bronny James gets to the point. If it looked like he might stay, because what I saw before, he wasn't, averaging a lot of points. So let's say he does another year, and let's say he gets to the point where he becomes the star of the team and he misses that game winning shot. I mean, you're a public figure. These are the things that happens. It's just, it is what it is. Right now, 5 points a game, 2.4 assists. Now, this is the player that, like I said, this is the player who LeBron James is saying could play on the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, guess what? He knows his teammates. He knows his son. He knows what his son can do. I'm not saying that. But when you make statements like that, of course, You're going to have people coming out there putting together mock drafts and expecting, just to say gotcha. So I thought that was very interesting. Let me know what y'all think. What do y'all think about LeBron James tweeting about Bronny James? I just think the expectations are too high. The expectations was way high for LeBron James, and I just feel like they're higher for Bronny because people kind of expect, okay, you're LeBron James Jr., you need to be at least half as good as your dad. And again, it's not fair. Speaking of children and the NBA, Kiyan Anthony, Carmelo's son, he was doing a video with Complex with his mom, Lala. Shout out to Lala. And she asked him his favorite basketball player. And of course, the way the video's cut, he says Kobe and Paul George. And she throws some cards and says, "You ain't gonna say your dad." And well, Melo responded. He talked about this. He, kind of very complex for what they did. He said, "Look, I know who Paul George is his guy. I'm in a different stratosphere." But then he turned around and said he's trying them. Now we've seen videos where, and we heard Melo talk about how Kiyan Anthony has said that he could beat his father in one-on-one. He could also, him at 17, he's better than his dad was at 17. And Melo loves that. He said this is what he's supposed to say. As somebody who don't do too much dibbling and dabbling and follow a lot of the high school, college basketball scene, from what I hear, it sounds like Kiyan Anthony has more of the dog in him than Bronny James. Now, I've always said Carmelo had more of a dog in him than LeBron James, especially early in their careers. Now, obviously, LeBron has the rings, but back in 2004, 2005, I was a Carmelo Anthony fan. I thought Melo was better than LeBron, and it remained that way for quite a few years. Melo should have got MVP. I still stand by that statement. But, it feels like he has more of the dog in him than, say, a Bronny James. But all this is to remain to be seen. I'm interested to see what happens. I'm a huge wrestling fan, right? And in pro wrestling, you have wrestlers such as Randy Orton and The Rock who are better than their fathers, especially as far as legacy leaps and bounds. But then you also have people like David Sanmartino, who's, just nowhere near as good as their father. So that's what I'm interested to see it. Because as far as we know, Kiyan and Carmelo, they could be like Charlotte and Rick. Y'all let me know. Will LeBron and Bronny be like David and Bruno, and Carmelo and Kiyan be like Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair? Because right there, with that argument, I can make the argument that you can make an argument in so many levels that Charlotte's greater than Ric Flair. And that's a big statement. Rick has gone out and said that she's better than he was, right? Now, I'm not talking about accomplishments. I'm talking about skill-wise. That's what's going to be interesting to be seen. But I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. Then I want to get in a couple other things before I get out of here. I'll be right back.
Hi everyone, it's me, Queen PR, one half of those wrestling girls, and welcome back to another episode of Where Wrestling Meets Pop Culture. And this is the show where you find out who the current Up Down champion is. This is not the show where we speculate when Mercedes is returning to WWE. This is not the place for rumors and innuendo. This is the show where you find out where all your wrestlers are up to outside of the ring. One of my favorite couples, Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. We knew that Bianca and Montez were filming a reality show with Hulu. I just have to have a moment for the It family.
All right, y'all make sure y'all check out WWE Meets Pop Culture. That is a great series. I know it's a lot of wrestling fans that follow me, but even if you're not a wrestling fan, WWE Meets Pop Culture shows you how, in many aspects, the professional wrestling world crosses over into pop culture. So it's not a show for if you're looking for wrestling rumors, results, and dirt sheets, no. It's literally the show to talk about what the wrestlers are doing in your world. So I saw this thing about Kyler Murray, right? And there's a clause in his contract that he has to watch a certain amount of game film. And the reason why that is being perceived is because they say he spends a lot of time on video games. At least that's what the commentator said. That's the reason why they had to put that in the contract. And I was, as a gamer, and and be honest with you, I'm probably not as much of a gamer as Kyler Murray, right? But as a gamer, I thought this was interesting because I heard a lot of discourse about video games separate winners and losers, right? And the quote was talking about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and do they play a lot of video games? We heard in the wrestling world where Undertaker said a lot of wrestlers back in his day, they wasn't wasted time in video games. His locker room has gotten soft. So I feel like video games get a lot of flap despite this being more of a money making industry than it was when we was coming up. When we was coming up, our parents would say to us, "Don't burn your brains out. You're gonna fry your brain." That was my mother's favorite line playing that game. And me and my godbrother, who spent a lot of times playing a lot of Madden, 2K, NBA Live, WWE, sometimes the fighting games, sometimes Twisted Metal. We said, if only we knew what we knew now, right? So I thought this was interesting that the video games are being associated with athletes who apparently who can be distracted. And what people don't understand is the same way people read books, same way people play video games. There was a study out there that said people who play games are more creative. You have some people who play video games as a stress reliever, and then you have some people that's how they connect with the world. I can say this: there was a time when I was heavy into gaming, right? And we're talking my teenage years and 20s where I'm making sure that I'm like top ranked. I wanted to play on the hardest levels. I wanted to play on the All Maddens, the Hall of Fames. And I was bragging about how I could beat the game on this level. Now, shoot, put me on. I play Madden on All Pro just because Pro is too easy. But I'm playing on levels that's easy because I need it as a stress reliever. I need to relax. I don't have time to master the games the way I used to. But you do have players who master these games. You know, um, Driving video games let you know that you can't go in the curb 120 miles an hour without losing control of your car. The games help in certain ways. And it also, like I said, stress reliever. Now, obviously, people who play Madden think they can coach. It's a lot different. I know a lot of coaches would hate that. They think I've heard radio shows say that Madden got people out here thinking they could do X, Y, Z. Um, but it's just one of those things where I'm sitting there, I'm like, why would Kyler Murray's contract have a clause it seems like it's an anti-video game clause? It seems like, okay, we need to make sure you're focusing on essentially focusing on your schoolwork, right? And they got to make sure that he's watches a certain amount of game film. I can understand that, right? We've heard stories about Jamarcus Russell, where the rumor is that the coaches gave him a blank DVD and said, "Did you watch the film?" And he said, "Yeah." And they said they realized he didn't because there was no game film on it. We heard rumors. We heard Michael Vick talk about he didn't watch a lot of game film. He was just that good, and he got a little too arrogant, right? So nowadays, obviously, they can track. They can see how long the iPad's been on, how much you've been watching. But for people to say video games separate the winners and losers, that's something I don't agree with at all. Because I do think that one, gaming helps with stress, but it also helps athletes get, it could be a stress reliever and they're very therapeutic. And I think that's the big part that a lot of people miss out on. So, you know, um, and before I get out of here, Oh boy, definitely want to touch on this situation with Cam Newton. Man, did y'all see what happened? If you didn't last week, because as I record this on a Sunday, um, last week we saw that he got into a scuffle and he really tossed people, just straight tossed them. People, um, it was at one of his camps, and somebody, they wanted to test him. And all of a sudden, like I'm watching the video, I'm like, what the hell? I see all these people coming at Cam, and then, and I ain't see him like throwing, like, knocking people out. And I just thought that was just so disappointing because you look at a guy like Cam Newton, he's somebody that years ago, you can go on my Facebook. I said one day he's gonna be the greatest quarterback of all time. Right now, that I may have fell short. It may have been a hot take, but one thing I will say is he. We talked about expectations, right? Number one draft pick overall, changed the Carolina franchise, got them to the Super Bowl. Uh, but then for somebody like that, a MVP quarterback to hold these camps, we see him disrespected way too many times. It's unfortunate. You've seen videos of kids saying whatever they want to him, right? They'll call him a bum. They'll call him, say he wasn't this, that, and the other. We've seen this fight. And I'm like, you don't never see videos like this with Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, right? It's like everybody quick to respect them. Well, where's Cam's respect? Because Cam Newton doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to hold these camps. Somebody's back out there trying to get back to the community, but yet the disrespect constantly pours in. And it's really annoying. It's really annoying. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So hopefully these kids will understand, and I heard people say Cam should stop doing camps. I mean, that might, it might be a thing, but clearly it's something he's passionate about. Clearly it's something he cares about. So not going to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, Cam should stop doing camps, because if this is something that he's looking to do to give back, who am I to say, oh, Cam, you should stop? I commend him on doing it, but I just hope people understand that, you know, people hope people stop disrespecting him, because everybody think they can do what Cam Newton did. And like I said, I looked at it, I was like, wow, he just tossing people around. If he wanted to destroy them, he could have. And he said he's disappointed himself for, he should have never put himself in that position. But I also say people need to lighten up because, quite frankly, it's something he didn't have to do. But I mean, you ready to get out of here. Shout out to Steph Curry and Aisha Curry. Congratulations to them getting ready to have another baby. So congratulations to them. Oh, one thing I did want to touch on real quick before I leave out of here. Russell Wilson. I watched Russell Wilson's interview with Brandon Marshall. And one of the things I thought was interesting was, he kind of addressed what Marshawn Lynch has said about him on Richard Sherman's podcast. And if you don't remember, basically Marshawn Lynch said that, you don't just call Russell Wilson. You got to get in contact with somebody else in order to get in contact with him. And watching this, it's like he wouldn't say nothing bad about anybody. One thing he said, well, maybe Marshawn had a few drinks. So I thought that was hilarious. But overall, man, it's sad that people, I love Russell Wilson's spirit. I love that fact that, he was, willing to, have that conversation, with, Brandon Marshall was interesting because a lot of people consider him problematic. But overall, Russell Wilson is somebody who you look at is always positive. He talked about, what he wanted in a partner and what he got out of Sierra and their bond. It just makes you want to root for him. Now, he did say he wants to win 2 more Super Bowls in the next 5 years. Somebody said he may be delusional. Somebody else said, look, as long as he keeps his PlayStation 5 from overheating, he has a chance. So that's interesting. I don't see him winning two more Super Bowls. But then again, you never know. You never know. Somebody got to put an end to this dynasty that is the Kansas City Chiefs, and I hope it's my Baltimore Ravens. But ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to close out of here. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Uncomfortable Conversations. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends about it. Shout out to everybody who purchased new shirts. So I got them in purple, got them in blue, so shout out to y'all. Really appreciate it. Shout out to Marcus. He bought one, posted on Instagram. So really appreciate that. But until the next time, folks, remember, do not let anyone place a ceiling above your success. So long, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support this podcast by wearing a t-shirt, whether it's the one that says Breaking Through Glass Ceilings or the one that says No Ceilings Above Success, simply go to foryourwear.com. Also, you can support some of your other favorite podcasts and content creators, including Those Wrestling Girls, Seahawk, and the Wrestling Club. And you can support some of your favorite independent wrestlers, including Jay Bougie, Trisha Dora, Chaz the Don. Shoot, all the Pure Ignorance is on there. So go on foryourwear.com, go under personalities, you'll find Brian H. Waters, and buy a t-shirt. And remember, I'll give you a shout out on the show. Podcasters and gamers, we all know it can be intense. We're talking, we're getting hyped, we're passionate. Sometimes we need a boost. Well, you can get that by getting Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy is the #1 supplement for podcasters and gamers, and they have tons of different flavors, including Strawberry Burst, Tropical Breeze, and Cotton Candy. And you can save 10% by putting in the code Brian H at checkout. So go to rogueenergy.com and enter the code Brian H to save money. Are you a podcaster who is looking to share clips from your show in the simplest way possible? Well, I have the best solution, and that's Opus Clip. Opus Clip allows you to take the link to your show, upload it, and then they will clip off some of the best moments. And it allows you to edit it, change the captions, change the colors, and they also give you a viral score so you know which clip can potentially generate more buzz for your show. So if you're looking to do that, click the link in the bio, sign up for Opus Clip, and go viral with some of the best content from your show.